This is new tonight. Portland could lose millions in federal funding for things like transportation and housing due to its DEI policies and programs.
Yeah, President Trump's executive orders crack down on federal funding to governments with those initiatives. K2 investigator Wright Gazaway at the live desk now. Right, you've learned tens of millions of dollars are at risk here, right?
Yeah, paying for stuff like violence prevention work, major infrastructure projects, and low-income housing. It's all at risk due to race-based and gender-based programs and policies in the city of Portland. The City Council can either change those things or turn down the federal money. We are working to confirm exactly which programs or rules are in question. Some councilors tell me the city does not have the money to backfill the federal grants. This came to a head last month. The city administrator told councilors the city attorney said the city could not sign a new grant agreement because the city can't guarantee compliance with these federal rules. I caught up with councilors after they got a confidential briefing from city attorneys.
And what we're trying to do right now is figure out how we best serve all members of our community and what that looks like as we try to respond to the directives from the federal government.
City Administrator Mike Jordan says in part, quote, Portland is facing challenging decisions about how to respond to the Trump administration's demands that cities eliminate some policies and programs designed to help people of color, women, and other oppressed groups overcome hundreds of years of systemic discrimination. It is up to the City Council to decide what to do. Eventually, this will all be discussed at a public council meeting. At the live desk, Wright Gazaway, K2 News.
Right, thank you. You may remember earlier this year, the Port of Portland voted to revoke its DEI policies. They made that decision to avoid losing $145 million in federal funds. Losing those funds could have impacted K-9 teams at airports or dredging operations in the Columbia River. Another big story we're following. Portland leaders say critical federal funding is at risk unless the city makes some major changes. President Trump's executive orders take aim at cities with DEI policies, and K2 has learned the city has now stopped applying for new federal grants due to compliance concerns.
K2 investigator Wright Gazaway is at the live desk. So, Wright, the city relies on about $100 million a year in federal grants.
Yeah, and it's at risk if the city doesn't make changes to race-based and gender-based programs and policies within the city. The vast majority of the grants go to transportation and housing initiatives. The city says it is currently can't sign grant agreements because it's not in compliance with new federal rules related to DEI policies. This was all discussed in a confidential meeting between city leaders and the city attorney today. The council will ultimately decide whether to change those programs and policies or lose the funding. We caught up with city councilors after the meeting.
I think it's likely that our approach will be case by case to some degree, but I understand Portlanders are going to care about that because we're a city that leads with our values and cares about equity and cares about ensuring that we're serving the folks who've been traditionally left out or traditionally underserved or even harmed by government action.
We had a lot of hard choices to make this budget cycle. If we lose federal grants, we'll have even more hard choices to make. Obviously, we need to weigh that with the importance of some of the programs that are on the table.
The grant funding pays for things like low-income housing, major infrastructure projects, and even violence prevention. Every federal grant is at risk due to the city's policies and programs. Eventually, council will discuss this in a public meeting and decide what to do. We'll let you know what happens. At the live desk, Wright Gazaway, K2 News.